Picture this: a daring heist in the sky, a mysterious man, a fortune of $200,000, and a vanishing act that still baffles investigators to this day. This is the incredible tale of a 1971 plane hijacking that reads like something straight out of a Hollywood thriller. On the evening before Thanksgiving in 1971, an unassuming man holding a black briefcase and a brown bag approached the Northwest Orient Airlines counter at Portland International Airport. With cash in hand, he purchased a one-way ticket for Flight 305, bound for Seattle, for a travel time of half an hour. He identified himself as Dan Cooper, and those who saw him described him as a middle-aged man with a neat appearance, donning a business suit, white shirt, and black tie, complemented by a raincoat and brown shoes. After boarding the Boeing 727-100, Cooper took his seat at the back, specifically E18, and requested a bourbon mixed with 7-Up. Shortly after, the plane, which was carrying 37 passengers and a 6-member crew, departed around 2:50 p.m., Cooper passed a note to the flight attendant Florence Schaffner. Thinking it was perhaps a phone number from a businessman, she casually placed the note in her purse without reading it. Noticing this, Cooper urged her to read the note. To her astonishment, it stated that Cooper had a bomb, and instructed her to sit beside him. Complying with the note's instructions, she took a seat and discreetly asked him to reveal the bomb. When he opened his briefcase, Schaffner saw something resembling dynamite. Cooper secured his briefcase and communicated his requirements to Schaffner. She jotted down his stipulations, relayed them to the cockpit, and updated the flight team about the ongoing situation. Captain William A. Scott instructed her to stay in the cockpit, documenting the sequence of events. He then reached out to the Northwest Flight Operations team in Minnesota, sharing the hijacker's conditions. Cooper demanded $200,000 in a backpack by 5 p.m., along with 2 primary and 2 secondary parachutes. His request for 2 sets of parachutes hinted at the possibility of him taking someone along, ensuring the authorities wouldn't provide faulty gear. As the plane circled Seattle, flight attendant Tina Mucklow became Cooper's main point of contact. During their interactions, Cooper revealed little about himself, but seemed calm and even cordial. The passengers, unaware of the hijacking, were told of a minor delay due to mechanical issues. The ransom was arranged, with the money sourced from a Seattle bank. The bills were unmarked but photographed by the FBI for records, and parachutes were procured locally. As preparations were made on the ground, Cooper and Mucklow engaged in casual conversation, with Cooper even offering her a cigarette. Once the demands were met, the plane landed in Seattle around 5:46, and Cooper took a moment to examine the cash. Trying to lighten the mood, Mucklow playfully inquired if she could keep a portion of the money. Without hesitation, Cooper offered her a bundle of bills, however she promptly gave it back, clarifying that company rules prohibited her from accepting tips. Mucklow mentioned that Cooper had previously attempted to tip her and the other attendants from his own funds, but they had all refused due to the same policy. After some time, Cooper allowed the passengers to leave. Only he and the essential 6 crew members remained as the plane took off again, heading for Mexico City with a refueling stop planned in Reno. Issues during the refueling led to a prolonged wait, necessitating the use of a second, and then a third truck to finish the task. Amidst this delay, Mucklow mentioned that Cooper expressed dissatisfaction because the money was handed over in a cloth bag rather than the specified knapsack. This meant he had to devise an alternate method to carry the cash. Utilizing a pocket knife, Cooper removed the canopy from one of the backup parachutes, and repurposed the empty parachute bag to hold a portion of the money. At approximately 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 resumed its journey. The only passengers on board were Cooper, Mucklow, Captain Scott, First Officer Radizak, and Flight Engineer Harold E. Anderson. The plane was shadowed by two F-106 fighters from McCord Air Force Base and a Lockheed T-33 trainer, all of which maintained a specific flight pattern to remain unnoticed by Cooper. Post-takeoff, Cooper instructed Mucklow to deploy the rear staircase. Concerned about the potential danger, she conveyed her fears to him, suggesting using a cord from a parachute as a safety line. Cooper decided to handle the staircase himself and directed Mucklow to the cockpit, ensuring she stayed there. Before she departed, she implored Cooper to either disarm the bomb or take it with him. As she moved to the cockpit, she noticed Cooper securing what seemed to be the money bag around his waist. Mucklow stayed in the cockpit for the remainder of the flight, and was the last individual to witness the hijacker. By 8 p.m., a cockpit alert indicated the activation of the aft staircase. When the pilot inquired if Cooper needed help via the intercom, the only response was a curt no. The crew experienced a change in cabin pressure due to the open staircase. At around 8:13 p.m., the plane's tail section abruptly tilted upward, requiring immediate correction by the pilots. Co-pilot Bill Radazak later mentioned to the FBI that this occurred near Portland's northern suburbs. With the rear door open and the staircase extended, the crew was uncertain of Cooper's whereabouts. As they neared Reno, Mucklow tried communicating with Cooper about the need to retract the staircase for a safe landing, but received no response, as Cooper had already parachuted into the night. Flight 305 touched down at Reno-Tahoe International Airport at 11:02 p.m., with the staircase still extended. Law enforcement surrounded the plane, but hesitated to approach, due to the potential threat of the bomb. After Captain Scott confirmed Cooper's absence from the cabin, an FBI team inspected the plane and declared it safe after 30 minutes. After the infamous hijacking by the man known as Dan Cooper, the FBI launched an extensive investigation. They found 66 fingerprints and some of Cooper's belongings, including his tie and 2 parachutes on the plane. However, his exact jumping and landing point, identity, and subsequent actions remained a mystery. The media's significant influence in shaping the narrative stemmed from a journalist's mistake, erroneously labeling the hijacker as D.B. Cooper, a name that gained widespread popularity and recognition. Determining Cooper's exact drop zone was challenging due to numerous variables, including the plane's speed, altitude, and environmental conditions. The military jets that followed the hijacked plane did not detect Cooper's jump or parachute. Efforts to trace the flight path using an Air Force SR-71 Blackbird were hampered by poor visibility. Experimental tests were conducted to recreate the conditions of Cooper's jump, suggesting he might have landed near Mount St. Helens. Despite extensive searches covering vast terrain, neither Cooper nor his belongings were found. The search included aerial scans, ground searches with hundreds of personnel, and even underwater explorations in local lakes. By 1972, the FBI had revised its calculations about Cooper's potential landing site, suggesting he might have jumped over La Center, Washington. Interestingly, a 2019 FBI report mentioned a burglary near the suspected drop zone shortly after Cooper's jump, where only survival items were stolen, adding another layer of mystery to the case. The FBI embarked on an extensive forensic investigation of the aircraft, and unearthed several items of interest, including a black clip-on tie with a mother-of-pearl tie clip. This particular tie was identified as a product sold exclusively at JCPenney, that had been discontinued in 1968. In the years that followed, various pieces of evidence and potential clues emerged. One such clue was an instruction placard from a 727's aft air stair, found by a deer hunter in 1978, near a logging road in Washington. This location was in line with the basic flight path of Flight 305. The parachutes that Cooper asked for during the hijack had a twist. One wasn't working and was just for practice. This made people wonder about Cooper's skills in parachuting. A significant discovery related to the hijacking came in 1980, when a young boy found 3 packets of the ransom money on the Columbia River's bank. Among the other evidence found on the plane were 2 hair samples. One of these samples, a strand of limb hair, was deemed unsuitable for analysis and subsequently discarded. The other, a strand of brown Caucasian head hair, was preserved but unfortunately lost during subsequent investigations. Additionally, 8 Raleigh cigarette butts were retrieved from the plane's ashtray. Attempts to extract DNA from these butts in 1998 were thwarted, when it was discovered that they had been destroyed. By 2007, the FBI had managed to construct a partial DNA profile from samples on the tie, however they couldn't definitively link the DNA to Cooper. This discovery led to the release of previously undisclosed evidence, such as Cooper's plane ticket and composite sketches. In 2009, a group of independent researchers, known as the Cooper Research Team, delved deeper into the case. They employed modern technologies like GPS and satellite imagery to re-examine the evidence. Their analysis of the tie revealed traces of rare metals and organic particles, suggesting that Cooper might have had ties to the aerospace or chemical manufacturing industries. One of the notable suspects was Ted Braden, a Special Forces commando during the Vietnam War, known for his skydiving skills. Braden's military background, combined with his proximity to the hijacking location at the time, made him a person of interest. However, no concrete evidence linked him to the crime. Kenneth Peter Christensen, a former paratrooper and flight attendant, became a suspect after his brother believed he resembled Cooper's description. Despite some circumstantial evidence, the FBI did not consider him a prime suspect. Another individual, Jack Caufelt, claimed to be Cooper, but his story was largely dismissed as a fabrication. Lynn Doyle Cooper was proposed as a suspect by his niece, who recalled suspicious activities around the time of the hijacking, however DNA evidence later ruled him out. Barbara Dayton, a recreational pilot, once claimed responsibility for the hijacking, but later recanted her story. William Gossett, who served in the military, showed a deep interest in the Cooper case. He even said he had the ransom cash, but the FBI couldn't find any proof that tied him to the act. Joe Lakich was looked at because he might have been upset with the FBI because of an unsuccessful attempt to save his daughter from being held captive. John List, who murdered his family and disappeared shortly before the hijacking, was considered due to the timing of his crimes. However, after his capture, he denied any involvement in the Cooper case. Richard McCoy was responsible for a similar hijacking, leading some to believe he might be Cooper, but the FBI ruled him out, due to discrepancies in age and description. Several other individuals, including Robert Rackstraw, Walter R. Rika, William J. Smith, and Dwayne L. Weber, were at various times considered potential suspects. Each had certain characteristics or backgrounds that might link them to the hijacking, but none were definitively proven to be Cooper. As we close this chapter, the enigma of D.B. Cooper is still shrouded in mystery. Who was this man who vanished into the annals of history? Theories multiply, suspects arise, but the truth remains just out of reach.